just want to introduce you to what this meetup is all about. For those that haven't turned up to one of our Enterprise Business Agility meetups before, we've rebooted it. But fundamentally, it's about building a community of change agents. So you guys are obviously interested in business agility for various reasons. So you are actually the change agents. You're the ones that are most knowledgeable in that space. You're reaching out, you're trying to learn more. And it's about being passionate to help your organizations achieve their business agility goals. And we'll go through a little bit of that tonight. It's about being able to support each other. So one of the values that Epic has is we are all about community, and we really care about those people who are passionate about the things we're passionate about. Business agility is one of those. So what we want to do is create a peer-to-peer support network, which is all you guys. So somehow at the end of the night, because we can't give information out, but somehow at the end of the night, I'd highly recommend sharing email addresses or telephone numbers. If this is something you're passionate about, connect, right? Because business agility is all about collaboration and connection, right? So give it a go, and hopefully you can get some support as you need it. More importantly, we want to learn from each other. So we really care about ensuring that we're a continuous improvement practice, both in terms of Agile, but also in terms of business agility, right? So nobody's nailing it, just to make it really clear. We just really want to help people get better and better over time. And obviously I put down the bottom a safe place to have a bit of a whinge. So often when I'm doing meetups, I hear all about the challenges you guys are facing on a regular basis. This is a safe place to talk about that. Please don't dominate the conversation with the whinging, but feel free to vent a little bit, right? And then the team can help. So here's a social contract I've suggested, and if anybody wants to change it up, totally happy. This is a social contract that can evolve, right? But there's a couple of things that in the past has worked for us. So first of all, leave attitudes and other baggage at the door. We say don't be a dickhead, right? So sorry about the language, but just be nice to each other. You're here to learn. You're here to be part of a community of practice. Bring a learning mindset. If you're not here to learn, but you're here to dictate or tell people what happens, that includes me. If you hear it, just call us on it. We're here to learn from each other. All voices are equal and need to be heard, right? So you can't learn if you're not listening. And I mean really hearing what's going on, right? No one is fully right and everyone is a little bit wrong. That's the approach we like to take. If we weren't open to alternative ways of doing things, then why are we here to learn stuff, right? All experience is valid and worth sharing. So it doesn't matter how much experience you have, whether it be small or a lot, we want to hear it all, right? It's really, really important. There are no stupid questions. There are no wrong answers. We want you to have fun. It's a meetup for sharing, not for selling. So if you are here as a part of an organization, including anyone from Epic, and you want to try to sell something, not the place to do it. We're here just to help each other out. So that's what it's about. And obviously we want it to be community owned. So as I said, Epic's sponsoring it tonight, but I can see people from Palo IT here. I can see people from Woolworths Group here, you know, Service New South Wales, etc. Feel free to talk to people about sponsoring drinks and beer, etc. for next time. All right, so what's my name? My name is Rob. I've been doing Agile for a long time. Actually started in the same company as William doing Agile such a long time ago. I'm a passionate Agilist, but more importantly, I'm a business agility advocate. We'll talk a little bit about what that means. I'm just a guy with a weird photo. I'm just another one of you guys just trying to find our way in the business agility world. But I am part of Epic. Epic is pushing the business agility movement really hard, mainly because we really see it as the next place that we should be going as a movement. And the Agile, where we started from, is only really now scratching the surface of what it used to be the thing, right? But now it's like we can go beyond that, and a lot of Agilists are really starting to move that way. And so we've been partnering with people like the Business Agility Institute. We're pushing them pretty hard because they're at the moment, they're a not-for-profit organisation trying to push business agility in the market. And we're really trying to support anybody, I don't care who it is, competitors or otherwise, who really believes in the same thing as us. Let's just do this together, right? So that's what we're about. And now I need to know a little bit about you guys. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do, this is where the beginning of the interaction happens, right? What I'm going to ask you to do is turn around to the person in a moment, turn around to the person that you don't know, right, next to you, and I want you to introduce yourself. What I want to know is, what we want to know is what's your name, why are you here, and what's your burning question. Now, there's a secret to the burning question. There's some Postit Notes around. We'll grab some and we'll hand them out. What I want you to do is when you're talking to the person next to them, tell them what the burning question is. When you finish this little piece of work, it's going to take a couple of minutes, I want you to take the burning question from your partner, whoever that is, right? And during the night, and that partner needs to explain what that burning question is. During the night, if it sounds like that question has just been answered, I want you to scream out bingo, right? And then explain to me what the question was and what you thought the answer might have been. Whoever says that, there'll be three prizes, some Woolworths gift cards, and you can take those away for you tonight, all right? So it's a bit of fun. So you've got to listen to what the question is, and you've got to try to find the answer, okay? All right, so for 5 minutes, I want you to turn to each other, introduce yourselves, people you don't know, right? And I want you to talk to me about what your name is, why are you here, and what's your burning question. Post-it notes will be handed out, write it down, and let's keep it. All right, over this side of the counter, over this side of the floor is WTF. Does everyone know what that stands for, or do I have to explain it?
World Trade Federation.
That's it, right? So exactly, WTF, right? So if you have no experience in in business agility, I want you to stand close to here. If you have a lot of experience, you think, in what business agility means, and you would describe yourself as an expert, I want you to stand close to here. Somewhere in between, obviously the least strength you have in it, the more strength you have in it. Okay, let's go, let's do it. It's okay to not know anything tonight about business agility, but understanding this data is important for us during the night, okay? These people over here are as close as you're going to get to experts tonight, so please rely on them. I want you to break into, self-organise into 5 different groups. So now that you have your groups during the night, there's got to be a little bit of healthy competition, okay? So back in 2001, as you know, for those people who don't know, the Agile Manifesto was born. Agile's been around longer than that, really. But that was when the manifesto happened. And that's where people like myself and others started to discover this apparently amazing new way of working. It is pretty new, and it is pretty amazing, I should say. Back in 2011, there was a lot of work done around scaled agile, so safe, et cetera, and that's been really pervading a lot of our space in the enterprise for some time. And remembering the topic tonight is enterprise business agility, right, and how we get there and what it means. So safe, other scaled agile movements, less DSDM a term, whatever they might be, they're all sort of really started to get a lot of traction in 2011, right? So some were developed then, some were later, but generally 2011. In 2017, the big thing was tribes, right? So it's not that tribes hasn't been around for a while. Those people who understand Spotify know that it's been around for a little longer than that. But in 2017, we really saw an explosion in tribes, right? Those people from Woolworths Group, they've got tribes. We've got people from all over the country who are trying tribes at the moment, and you just see it everywhere, right? So ANZ, the likes, people like that. But actually the big thing that we're finding right now is that people are starting to realize, especially those that started to dabble and do agile transformation down this end of the timeline, have started to realize that actually there's so much more that they can achieve, and it doesn't seem to be delivering on the promise. And we get that because we're an agile agency. We understand that actually we ourselves started to realize some of the stuff that our clients were asking of us is not achievable with the tool set we already have. So we have to go out and actually start to look at what else do we need to achieve these business objectives. Business agility, certainly at the enterprise level, has really started to take off. That's why we have the creation last year of the Business Agility Institute. It's why we have a lot of meetups and a lot of conferences that are starting to be done. The Yao conference recently over at the Hilton is a good example of that. But the question, I guess, that we kind of want to know is, what is business agility? So this is my definition. We use this at, we've given this to CBA and Woolworths and Countdown and a whole bunch of others, but it's not right. It's just our definition. The ability for an organisation to adapt quickly, efficiently and effectively with limited disruption to market opportunities or challenges. How does that resonate with people? Does it sound wrong? Bingo. Does that answer a question? Oh, there's a winner. Bingo. Nice. Thank you very much. Give a round of applause. This is what it means, right? At the end of the day, what we're finding is that there's in the enterprise space, there's no longer anything off limits. Their competitors do not have any boundaries under which they need to operate, like long-term boundaries. Things like organizational structure. Things like, everybody's obviously got corporate definition, corporate design, that sort of thing, but they're actually quite willing, especially in the startup space, to just change it. Right? If it's not working, they will change it. Right? The enterprises can't do that. They're at a huge scale, and in order to make any changes of that nature, they have to have an annual general meeting. They have to go back to their company secretary. They've got to do, potentially they've got shareholders they need to talk with, right? Before they even talk about an AGM. But the problem is the competitors are not worried. The smaller ones, they're not held back by that. So not only is it about the way we deliver projects, it's about the way we see ourselves as a business, right? And whether there are parts of our business that are now holding us back. Things like functional silos, right? There's smaller businesses that are taking big, huge businesses' lunches and breakfasts and just having a great picnic, right? Fundamentally, and these big businesses are stifled by themselves. This is part of the problem, right? So business agility means I need to have a paradigm shift. I need to think completely differently to how I've always thought. There's a broad recognition that while Agile is delivering value, a lot of value by the way, love it, right? It's not actually delivering business agility on its own. And I'll talk a little bit about what that means. Business agility is an objective, it's not a method. Now we use a model we're going to walk you through, but the reason why that model doesn't come with a whole bunch of recipes and instruction sets is because it hasn't been well defined, right? We're still working it out today. So there's so much more to business agility. This is the model that we follow. It is just an epic, it's actually Agile Transformation Incorporated's model in the US. It's a model we chose to use because it really resonated with us. It is not the definition of business agility. It's just a tool, and you can come up with your own, right? So as we're starting to roll this sort of stuff out at other organizations, they're changing the language, they're changing the name. It just means something different to them, and that's okay as long as they're achieving their outcomes. But fundamentally, at the heart of it, customer centricity is the first pillar. The second one is how do we actually define our portfolios in such a way that we can adapt very quickly and not impact everything we're doing and throw out sunk costs. Organizational design and structure, really brand new. By the way, anybody in this organization, put your hands up in this meetup who's an Agilist, who does Agile, right? How many of you, keep your hand up if you're an organizational design expert. That's the problem. Right? When it comes to business agility, we are already somewhat siloed in our ability to deliver this. Right? We need the ability to continuously adapt based on what we're seeing both externally, but also internally. If we have an impediment to our ability to adapt quickly, then sometimes it means we've got to rip that impediment out. We met with the head of transformation at IBM last year when we went to New York to learn about this model. And partly they found out when they got a 3. Oh.
This is more about who's on the business agility journey.
Okay. Great one. Nice work. All right. Get the name and we'll give him a gift card afterwards. Thank you. Right. So partly IBM 350,000 person organization, right? And they need to implement, because they're really losing market share on everything, right? They're really huge, but at the end of the day, everyone's taking their lunch. So they really came to a point where actually IBM itself was holding them back. And so they actually got to this point where they said, actually, not only is the structure going to change, but if the leaders can't change, we're changing the leaders, right? They're literally going that hard and that fast. And heads have rolled there. Other people that are on this journey, Amex, really, really well known for that. Bank of America. Oh, what's that? Yeah, nice. Good one. Jesus, had to be you? Good. All right. Nice one. Oh, it was you too. Oh, scary, Mike. Okay. So huge organizations, Bank of America, Royal Bank of Canada, over here, Woolworths Group, and a whole bunch of others. Afterpay was one of the companies I mentioned earlier. I can give you a whole list of people, or pretty much half the people that Epic are working with us because they want to do this, right? So organizational design. Delivery frameworks and agile mindset. So it was called Agile Frameworks and Agile Frameworks and Mindset. So we've adapted that a little bit because we think that's a bit unfair, even as a even as a practical agilist. To achieve our business agility goals for our organizations, I don't need you to be an agilist. I just need you to have an agile mindset, right? So as a consequence, when we're talking in this context, while I am a massive agile proponent, I don't need you to be an agilist. I just need you to have an agile mindset. So we say this is delivery frameworks, agile mindset. Leadership and culture, as we all know. If you want to change everything, you better have a leadership team that's willing to make that change. And if you can't change everything, change the leaders, right? Not that easy. I'd hate someone to do that to me. Also, I think that it's on us to actually help them first, right? Don't just give up. Make it stick, or sustainable change is what some of the organisations like Woolworths have chosen to call it. Sustainable change, it's all about when you do this, and transformation is, when you're doing this business agility model, transformation is the new norm, right? So you've got to get over the fact that transformation happens at a moment in time. Transformation in a business agility context happens all the time. It's a continuous model of inspect and adapt. So you're looking at what's going on and you're then actioning a change based on that. So whether it be internal, external, I don't care what it is. But that means that sustainable change is no longer about how do I implement a transformation and then it's done. It's actually how do I continue to create transformation agents around the organisation and make that a sustainable model, where transformation is the new norm, where it happens all the time, where it's actually not too scary to transform because that's just what we do. Now, the interesting part about that is that's where things like the tribal model work really well, because it's an autonomous self-organising mechanism. And when the value is starting to be depleted out of a value chain, right, they just adapt, they just change the model, right? That's why the tribal model works well. That's why the tribal model is one of the go-to choices for business agility, but it's not the only reason, not the only model you could choose. Don't even need to choose the tribal model. And then last one, adaptive technology. Clearly, if anybody's here working in a big enterprise, you know that all the technology has been set up to support functional units and to support the operations of those functional units. So if you're going to change the functional units and if you're going to change the operations to completely, start to deliver new product or to deliver new value to your customers or even completely new customers, then all of that technology you've just spent billions of dollars putting in place has got to be adaptable too. So that's pretty hard, right? That's not easy stuff. So think about the way that enterprises have set up their technology stacks to support lines of business or to support functional areas, and then think what happens if I change those line of businesses tomorrow, right? Really, really hard stuff. But that's the nature of business agility, right? It's literally, if I'm going to survive and I need to make a change to survive, and that change means that the organisation I'm in is no longer going to support our future state, then just change the organisational state, right? It's not easy, but that's kind of the mindset you've got to have, right? Anyone disagree? No? Not easy though, right? I don't think there's any experts in this, right? There's just people who are trying harder than some. That makes sense? I'm just going to go through a couple of these things, right? So, so what is customer seat at the table? I mean, fundamentally, you can read all the sayings. I'm sorry you can't actually read at the bottom who wrote that, but anyway, customer seat at the table means that every single time we make a decision, like if you look at Google, they've got, I think it's Google, or it could be Amazon, can't remember which, they've got the yellow chair in every single meeting room. Amazon, thank you. Yellow chair in every single meeting room. Every time they're having a meeting, they've got the customer literally there. Nobody's allowed to sit in the yellow chair. They are the one that they turn to at the end of all decisions to go, what would the customer think? That's the kind of customer centricity you want. In an agile space, it's not just around, so a lot of people go and ask the customer what do they want, and then they go and build a solution. Obviously in the agile space, it's about asking the customer what they want, testing the hypothesis when you come up with a potential solution, building it with the customer, releasing it to the customer, and then going, did I get it right? And the customer goes, yeah, it's not what I want. That's okay, go back and start again, right? Customer centricity means they're part of your team. They're part of your organization. I don't care how that looks, that's what it means, right? So you've got to include them in everything, every decision, everything you're doing. Customer seat is literally at the table. Lean portfolio management. So obviously, if the organisation is going to change on a regular basis, and if transformation is a normal part of our DNA, then our portfolio better be structured in such a way that if we want to cut some waste from that system when we change our strategy, which might change regularly, depending on the nature of your business, then your organisation, if you're running massive multi-billion-dollar portfolios like some of our companies, if you're building out $30, $40 million programs, good luck changing that anytime soon, right? There'll be such a response from the leadership team when you want to kill a program that's no longer relevant that actually, like even finance will go, how am I going to asset it then, right? So you've got to actually build it into smaller batches and start delivering through. That's why lean portfolio management is key. Yes, that is the Woolworths Group. Sorry about taking the photos. Hopefully you're not in it, Vinny. All right, next one, delivery frameworks, agile mindset. As I said, it's all about the way you structure your work, and I'm not talking about projects only. So the important thing we've done in some of our organizations is we said there is no project, there's just the flow of value. We have 2 different governance models. There might be more, but fundamentally they are the project governance model and the BAU governance model, right? Just choose which one is going to be the steward for that piece of work. I don't care if it's a project, I don't care if it's BAU activity. If it's strategic, I want to see it. And if it's important, I want to prioritize it against other things, right? So the method needs to also change. It needs to take into consideration waterfall and agile, which is your typical arch nemesis, but it also needs to take into consideration the BAU method as well. All those black ops and everything else that you do. Okay, so it's just a delivery framework. I don't care what it is. Come up with a new one. It needs to involve all of your work, all of the flow of value. Next one, organizational design. Now clearly it starts at the smallest, most optimized unit is the team unit. Somewhere around 10, well, what is it, 7 plus or minus 2, right? I still really believe in that number as an Agilist. There are bigger teams, there are smaller teams that don't really care. But what we want to do is we want to design those teams so that they are fully optimized over the shortest possible time. Don't change them. If anyone's seen the military, they do it really well. The reason why the military runs squads is that their missions change all the time. They don't change the squad. They just change the mission, right? The reason is they will win more often if you don't change the team than if you do, right? So a lot of organizations you don't think of as very agile are putting in place long-lived teams and putting in place smaller, more optimized parts of the organization. If you want a big part of the organization to be optimized, get lots of optimized teams. That's the way it works. Just give them a new mission. Tribes are a great example of that. Leadership and culture. As I said before, if you have an organization that is not safe to experiment, that is not safe to fail, that has leadership that is pretty much stuck in their mindset, that middle level management, obviously really good at that place. But I'm seeing a lot of those people pushing now to try to go into new areas of business, new ways of working. But if your leadership's one thing, we can train leaders. We can't control immediately culture. Anybody here think that you can put a milestone on culture and tell me what it's going to look like at that milestone? No? Culture is what it is. Culture is what it became every second of every day by your actions and your deeds. So changing culture is a long-term game, but it's a high return. If you can change, so process change like agile transformation, they say, I don't know, 30% uplift in your ability to deliver value. If you're looking at culture, it's 10 times, 20 times that, right? If you can change culture to be high performance and looking at the best outcome for the customer, win every day of the week. I don't care what you're doing, agile or otherwise. Adaptive technology, as I said, if we're changing everything and we can't change the technology stacks or it's not able to keep up with the pace of change, then obviously we're putting in place the wrong technologies. Those things take time to change. William Shipway, one of the greatest infrastructure managers and architects I've ever known. Thank you, William. Hands up. He has been facing this challenge for a very long time. He'd understand the challenge of making changes to infrastructure. Just like that, it's not easy, right? All right, make it stick. As I said, it starts from the change we're implementing today, but it's sustained by letting the right ones in every day from now on. If you're going to change the culture and then you're going to recruit the wrong people into that culture, then you've blown it. So it includes everything from talent management to talent acquisition. It includes everything from the way we monitor and manage our KPIs or our performance and the way that we, I guess we reward people for their actions. It's everything. So if you're going to change culture, you also need to change the way we manage that culture, and that's through our people. It's about our words, deeds, and actions. All right, so then we're going to break into the groups we brought before. In the next 10 minutes, I want you guys to work through what does it look like, what does it look like in your organization if we were really strong in this pillar? And obviously you've got collective organizations, so work it out together. But if the organizations you guys are working with were bloody awesome at this and nailing it every day, I want you to use Postit Notes and come up with what it might look like. Also, I want you to start thinking through how you might make that happen in your organization. So above the line, Postit Notes that represent what good looks like, you think. And below the line, Postit Notes that actually describe how you might make that reality, right? 10 minutes. give it a go. We've got some people at each team, they can help you facilitate, so go for it. The next exercise we are going to do, and it'll be the one to close out the night. I'm assuming then, since you've got nothing else that you've learnt, that you know all about it. And as a consequence, I would like you to practice what you're going to say to the CEO when you see them tomorrow and say you went to this meetup. I want you to walk away with something, right? Not only the photos, which is actually how you might implement some of this stuff, but also be able to say, last night I was at this meetup, and actually I reckon as X organisation, because we're facing into this problem, I think if we use this pillar and start to do these things, we might get a better outcome, a different outcome. Okay? So what I want you to do in your groups, I want you to grab an open space, and I want you to line up facing someone in your group. Okay? Can you do that for me? Go for it now, and then I will talk you through the next part. So I want you to think about the context of your company. And I want you to write down something. You don't have to follow this exactly. It doesn't matter, right? But I want you to use something like this. At blah, 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 we are presented with whatever your challenges are right now. And we think that by implementing this capability, right, we might, if we're strong at that, we might be able to solve these problems by, right? Something like that. Take about 2 minutes, write it down. Then what we are going to do, once you've done that, is we are going to play a little game where you are going to practice that little speech to your peer opposite you. And I'll work you through how that happens. So just write it down, take 2 minutes. All right, guys, time is up. Give yourself a round of applause. You're amazing. Woo! There we go. All right.